love lives here.
Thank you. This morning we have Reverend Veronica and Ministerial Intern Jesse Keeler. We've had them before. As Allison mentioned, this is the last of the summer series, so they won't be with us after this. So as they come up, please give them a warm welcome. You know, they've worked very, very hard preparing their talks for us this summer, and we'll just show them some love. But before that, let me reintroduce them. Reverend Veronica has been a Science of Mind practitioner since 2003 and became a licensed minister in October of 2020. She completed her master's degree in spiritual consciousness from the Holmes Institute of Consciousness Studies in 2021. She's a staff minister at Namaste Center for Spiritual Living in Long Beach, which I understand is merging with Seal Beach, and they haven't decided on a new name yet. So just keep an eye out for that. You might want to go visit when they figure out what their new name is. Veronica is a strong believer in the power of prayer, and she loves praying with people and seeing the results of prayer manifest as life itself, or in the case of Jesse, his healed hand. Veronica has been sober for the past 26 years and takes life on, as you might expect, one day at a time. She also is very proud of becoming a registered nurse 14 years ago at the age of 44. She served as a charge nurse on the COVID unit in 2020 and 2021, so you know she's a hard worker. It was the most challenging time that she had ever faced on her Science of Mind journey. She could not have made it without her meditation practice and many spiritual tools she has picked up along the way. Her favorite things to do are, she's a practitioner first, so pray, meditate, snow ski, and laugh with her friends and family. Veronica's motto is, when you can see God in everyone and everything, life becomes magical. And to reintroduce you to Jesse, as I said, he's a ministerial intern, so of course he is a practitioner. And so he's licensed to pray through the Centers for Spiritual Living. He completed his prac studies in 2020 and is currently a member of that center that is choosing a new name. So Namaste for the moment in Long Beach or Seal Beach or somewhere in between. Jesse serves the community in a variety of ways, including facilitating a weekly morning spiritual practice call, providing prayer, knowing the divine wholeness of individual congregants, in addition to spiritual coaching for his clients. He believes in the oneness of all creation and the vital importance of caring for our earth. Since 2018, he has led the Order of the Sacred Earth, Orange County, which promotes developing a personal connection with our earth, that's with a capital E, through the spiritual practices to become the best lovers and protectors of the planet we can be. In the fall of 2022, he started ministerial studies at the Centers for Spiritual Living and is taking his new path of his spiritual journey one course at a time. Probably a wise move because I know he has a day job. Jesse loves exploring his relationship with the world and his place in the cosmos. He is fascinated by how thought shapes the way a person experiences life. You can read some of his musings on his blog. It's at growingedge.com. So please give a warm Riverside welcome for the last time, at least for a while, to Reverend Veronica and Jesse.
Good morning. We're magnetic or something. There we go.
Are we interfering with each other?
We're interfering with each other again.
Right, then we need to come together.
Good morning, everyone. So good to be with you. Yeah. And I apologize. I didn't fix my boat, so I couldn't come here during the hurricane. So I'm sorry that I had to cancel last minute, but we know that weather was pretty strong. Yeah.
But we weathered the storm.
We weathered the storm. Yes, we did.
Tell where I'm at today, huh? Hey, good morning, Riverside. good welcome going on. Thank you for having me back and allowing me the honor of sharing with you who you truly are, the divine beings that you truly are.
Yes.
And giving me the opportunity to be here with Reverend Veronica.
I know, we have fun together.
We do.
If you were a fly on the wall in our car, you'd be enlightened. We solved all the problems of the world on the way over here. So glad to be here. We're excited. Did everyone get a 3x5 card on your way in? Oh, you're doing, okay, perfect. They're on their way. Great. And I think there's some pens in the pew there. So we're going to do a little work today, so to speak, work play, on this commitment number 14.
Can you believe we're on 14?
We're on 14, yeah.
We made it through the summer.
Yeah, we made it through the book. We made it through the book.
And how many people have the book now?
Yes.
All right, more people have the book. That's good, because I think you're going to be studying it this fall. Is that right? You don't know? All right. All right.
It's a good reference to have.
It is.
It is a really good reference book to have, to remind us of these commitments that can govern our life, and when we get into situations that we're unsure of, we can refer back to it. It has really powerful, applicable commitments in it. So we're glad to have walked through it with you as well. So, are we ready?
You ready? Do you know what commitment 14 is? Win, win, win.
Yes. Win, win, win. All right. You want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, the above line of commitment. I commit to creating win for all solutions. Win for me, win for the other person, win for the organization, and win for the whole. For whatever issues, problems, concerns, or opportunity life gives me. Wow. This is important. This is an important commitment to create a win-win-win for all. So, if you can imagine a world where we are all committing to a win-win-win for all. That would be a world that works for everyone, yes? Yes, okay, so how are we doing that? Well, we're going to do it on the microcosmic level today, where I want you to go within, and that's what the little 3x5 card is, so that you can take a few notes. I want you to just close your eyes right now.
Should we give them a little background on the principles?
Sure. I'm ready to dive in. Okay.
She's ready to dive in.
He's grounding me. He's grounding me.
We're going to get to the workshop piece of this. But let me just give you a little bit of grounding
Yes.
on what the basic principles are that the authors are talking about. Because this idea of winning is creating win-win situations. I know it sounds like it comes out of the business world, which I think it kind of does. But in our teachings, it's something that we want to have happen because we come from our hearts, a place of love. We want to see the best and highest good for everyone. And some of the principles they talk about in the book, I was thinking about a story, and Veronica, and I couldn't quite come up with a personal story, so I reached for something that maybe we're all familiar with. How many of you are familiar with The Wizard of Oz? You've all seen the movie, The Ruby Red Slippers, The Yellow Brick Road, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right? Okay.
Yes.
So one of the concepts that's discussed is the zero-sum game. Now, if you think about Dorothy, she has some conflicts, people that she comes into conflict with in the story. And that's what we love about stories, is we can work through conflict, and that's what drives story forward. Whereas in our personal lives, we may not want so much conflict.
Yes.
Now, in the story, Dorothy meets the Wicked Witch of the West. And what does the Wicked Witch of the West want from Dorothy? The ruby red slippers, right?
Yes.
Now, the Wicked Witch of the West, if she can't have those ruby red slippers, nobody can have those ruby red slippers. She's playing a zero-sum game. And we all know how that ends up. A little bit of water, and she melts away. Now, Dorothy also has a conflict with someone else in the movie, the wizard. Remember when she first meets the wizard? It's that big glowing head, at least in the movie, and he's spewing fire, and he's telling her, this is what you have to do if I'm going to help you out. And she's terrified of the wizard, but she doesn't know how to address it. But she does know she wants to get home, so she goes off and does this impossible task and comes back again and gets to stand in front of the wizard. And the wizard's not going to help her out. But then something happens. Toto gets curious. And Dorothy, getting curious about what Toto's up to, finds out that the wizard's actually a guy behind a curtain. So an important piece of creating a win-win situation is to get curious. Use your curiosity. And then she gets candid. She expresses some candor with the wizard. She says, hey, what's up? All this hard work you made me go to, and you're just this guy behind a curtain. So she has a candid moment. So one of the things we need to exercise within our creating a win-win situation is candor, being honest, being open. Now, during that encounter with the wizard, he gives what the Tin Man a heart. He gives the lion courage. He gives the straw man a brain. But then he runs out of stuff for when it comes to Dorothy. He said, I can't really help you out. But do her friends like ditch her and say, sorry, Dorothy, you're out of luck? No, they say, wait a minute, wizard. You told us you were going to help her out. You got to help her out. They stuck together. They recognized there's enough for everyone to go around.
Yes.
So that's another piece of creating a win-win situation, is knowing there's enough to go around. There's sufficiency there. And they supported one another in this adventure. And
Yes.
Dorothy got to go home. So those 4 ideas of getting curious, being candid, expressing candor, honesty, knowing that there's enough to go around, as well as supporting one another in the situation, are all keys to creating this win-win situation.
Well said.
So
Yeah.
take away, let's do
Good
this
job.
workshop.
All right. Well, he talked about the Wicked Witch of the West, and I just thought about this. I'm like, I'll get you, my pretty. Does anybody have a little bit of Wicked Witch in them? Just be honest here, just a little bit maybe. Skin tone turns a little green, maybe. So it happens, right? Especially when we get attached to something, like, no, that's mine, or no, my idea, or, we get attached. So we're going to look at how can we create a win-win-win when we're attached, and what is that going to entail? And Jesse, you did a really good job of showing the steps of what that entails. But we want to apply it to our own life, so that if we can do it in the microcosm of our own individual life, then we can take it out into the macrocosm when we're solving problems as a community or in a group setting. How can we create this win-win-win? And we'll have the tools and we'll have the reference by working on it on something in our own life. So you have the 3x5 card. I want us to just take a moment to go within. So we're just going to be still here. And take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. One more time, deep breath in and slowly let it out. And I want you to think about maybe an area currently that you're having conflict. And it could be something that on a scale you could say is small, or you can take on the biggest thing right now that you're challenged with. And if something doesn't come to mind, you can think about a conflict you've had in the past that maybe didn't turn out the way you wanted, or wasn't resolved the way you would have liked. So I want you to be still right now and think about a conflict, right, that you want to investigate during our time together. So let's take this just a few few moments here to breathe into that. And see what rises to the surface. And once you have that conflict that you'd like to work on, just write it down on your 3x5 card. And this will be our starting point.
Just keep breathing.
Yeah.
Because I know as you are bringing up something you have conflict about, you might feel some tension in your body somewhere. So keep breathing. Your breath is important here.
Yes. Just notice if it is bringing up maybe that fight or flight response, that you're just observing it, bringing your breath to that, to soften. Good. Does anyone not have the conflict that they want to work on yet? Is everyone good? Okay. All right. Perfect.
Now we're going to, now that you're focused on your conflict, you're going to get candid about it. Tell the whole truth about that conflict. From your perspective, what's going on. Just be truthful about it. Be honest about it. As you get honest about it, also start to look for what's the issue behind that issue, behind that conflict. What is it that's really going on? So what you're going to want to do is we're creating a space where you're going to be able to listen to whoever else is involved in this conflict. So be solid in your honesty. Do it with integrity. And know that there's more to this story.
All right. So the next step is to tell the story on a triangle. And that means that we're going to identify the victim or the villain in this story. So if you were telling this story like in a storybook, most stories or journeys of the hero always include a victim and the villain. So in that dynamic, so in your story, who is the victim and who is the villain? So just tell it like if you were telling a story in a book. You can write that down. And just talk about the different sides, so the different perspectives. What is my perspective? And if you feel like writing something down about what your perspective is, you can write that down. And also consider the perspective of the other person or group. And take into consideration their perspective. And I know sometimes we don't like to go there, like into the other person's perspective, because we have our perspective, darn it. And sometimes our perspective, we like to be right about it. And that's okay. We want to look at that as well. And I also want us to look at the other person's perspective, because you know what? They also think they are right. Isn't that correct? That's what creates the conflict. So we're going to look at what could the other person possibly be feeling, thinking. You just kind of want to walk in their shoes for a moment and think about why are they maybe digging their heels in about what's important to them. So just consider what they might be thinking in this conflict. Yeah.
So now here's a question for you. It's a yes or no question. Are you willing to shift your perspective? Are you willing to open up? You've just made a review of this issue, of this conflict. Are you ready for something to shift? And if you're not, that's okay too, but just be honest with yourself. Maybe you still need to dig in your heels. You want to stay there. If you're ready to move on, feel that yes. Make it a whole body yes. And I suggest right now, if you're feeling any hesitation to open up, to resolve the conflict, feel it in your body. Is there somewhere it's stuck in your body? What thoughts are you thinking? What's making you hesitate? Make a note of that. There's some prayer in there. Sometimes we get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. That's the way we learn to live. And if that's where you're at, that's okay. But you don't have to stay there. And I know Veronica does the yes, yes, yes. And that's the place we want to get to. Yes, yes, yes.
I was thinking too, like sometimes when we want to shift our perspective, or you're willing to shift, it doesn't have to mean 180 degrees. It could mean 10 degrees. Just crack the door open a little bit, let the light in, reveal something that you might not have seen yet. And sometimes those baby steps
Absolutely.
help us shift to see a different perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a sign that you're ready to open. Crack of light coming through
Yeah.
Just letting the light come in.
Yes, yes, yes. So let's take a breath right now. Let's take a deep breath in. Let it all out. Just feel your body. Just kind of connect, get present. Okay? We good? We're there. We're right in the middle of it, okay?
Are we good? Yes? Okay, good. I want to make sure you're all good.
Right. Okay. All right. So next, what we want to do is how can I take 100% responsibility? This is one of our commitments. How can I take 100% responsibility for this conflict? It doesn't mean I'm wrong and they're right. It doesn't mean they're right and I'm wrong, or vice versa. It just means that right now, in the moment of the conflict, that I am 100% responsible for my life, no matter what it looks like, in the conflict, in the joy, in the happy, in the sad. Like, not in a place of, sometimes in our teachings, we'll take being 100% responsibility. Sometimes we'll take it as a shaming, and I've seen that happen. That's not what we're talking about. Like, oh, I created this mess, and we go there. And that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about I am the creator. I co-create my life with the universe. And there's no blame.
No shame.
There's no shame. And so can I take 100% responsibility for this conflict? And so let's take a deep breath in. Let it all out. And see what comes up. And whatever comes up, just write it down. If you can say yes, I take 100% responsibility. You might say no, I'll take 50%. Whatever is coming up for you. Just acknowledge it without shame or judgment. I think the hardest thing is to live life without blame. Yeah.
To take responsibility.
to be 100%. Because there's a lot of blame on social media, television, news,
And shaming.
So when we can just say, I am co-creating right now with no blame and no shame, ooh, that's power. Yes.
Now's your opportunity to get curious. Got a list. We've gone through these you've identified your role in it, what the conflict is. You may or may not have agreed that you want to shift, but get curious now. What are the possibilities for resolving this situation, this conflict? You might go to the extreme and list the things that are not necessarily beneficial for yourself, from what is beneficial from the other person's perspective, because you want to take their role on as well. But the idea of getting curious is to really dig into it, to find out what the possibilities are before you go out and create an action plan. What questions do you need to ask? Is there more additional information you need? Are there additional resources you need? Curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
How else could you think about your issue?
You could even ask source, what is it that I cannot see? Get curious. What is it that I'm not seeing?
I actually think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Ask source. Source will always tell you. God will always tell you when you ask. You may not like the answer, but you will get an answer.
Yes. Yes.
Now that you have all of this, that card is yours, and that card is yours to take home with you. You can put it on your altar. You can reflect on it. You can take it to your practitioner and pray on it. But your homework is to create an action plan.
I think we can create one step of an action plan. Yeah. What is one thing, we'll just start from here, one action that you are willing to take to resolve the conflict? So as an action plan, an action plan could have a few different steps and stages to it. But let's leave here today with one step that you are willing to do. And as you can write that down, it could be to sit with Spirit and ask Spirit, go within to see to be curious about. You could be asking Spirit to help you surrender. It could be, maybe I need to make a phone call. Whatever it is, just what is one step that you would be willing to take to shift this conflict? And then as Jesse said, when you get home, more action steps might reveal themselves to you, so you can take this investigation that we've created and put it on your altar and keep it in the forefront of your consciousness as a way to resolve this, not only this particular conflict that we've danced with today, but also future. You have like stages, steps, and it's in the book as well, so you have a reference point.
With the ultimate mission of this is to create a win-win situation for everyone that's involved. So creating a situation that is for the best and highest good of everyone.
Yes, because that is the vision of Centers for Spiritual Living, to create a world that works for everyone. And that's the dance, I think, that's being called of us right now, is to how to interact, be in relations with people who think different than we do, right? That seems to be the biggest conflict right now in our world, is how to interact, work together, get curious, and even find a space in our heart to love and have compassion for those who think different than we do. If we want to create a world that works for everyone, it's easy to do with like-minded people, right? That's easy. because we think the same and we have tools together that we can work. But when we leave those secure space of our spiritual center, it gets a little challenging, doesn't it? It gets a little different. And so this is where we practice. This is where we learn to practice, where we learn to breathe, and where we learn to open our hearts to a group or people that we don't maybe understand, but might get curious about. Yeah. Anything else?
Comes from the love, with a loving heart.
Yeah, yeah.
You're free to express yourself, to be who you are, but come from your loving heart.
It starts with love. The answer is love. And to remember that there's enough to go around. I think that's an important part of this practice, because when we start to constrict and get afraid and say mine, 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 it's because we're in scarcity and lack. We think there's not enough. We think if someone else gets their way, I'm not going to get mine. And so that we have to pay attention to as a scarcity mentality. And we just take another breath in that moment. Okay, God, I know there's plenty to go around. There's plenty of ideas. There's plenty of resolutions. So I accept that and release this scarcity consciousness and open to the abundance of the universe right here as my life. Yes, that I say yes to. So notice, it's an observation of ourself when we go into that scarcity mentality, when we start to constrict and hold our ground. Okay? Just notice and breathe. The breath is the bridge. The breath is the bridge. Yes, yes.
You want to take this home?
Bring it on home. So when that wicked witch, I did that way too good, didn't I? I think I've been.
Yeah, you're scaring me a little bit there. Yeah.
A little scary.
Yeah.
Did I turn color?
You did. Actually, yes.
Did I turn a little green? Oh, I think it's because I've acknowledged that wicked witch in me. I've acknowledged her. I've learned to love her when she rises to the surface, because it's a part of. She will show up within me when I start to get territorial and want my way, and I could feel her rise up, and I just acknowledge her. There you are. Oh, there you are again with your pointy little hat and your green little face. Let's breathe. Let's breathe, and the breath is like water to the wicked witch. The breath just calms her down and just lets her rest. So what I would like to close with is just reminding ourselves that in conflict, that we're still beautiful children of God, of the Most High God, and that conflict is just another way of teaching us to grow. It's our teacher. It's our teacher that shows us what's important to us, right? Because sometimes when we're in conflict, it's because we're standing up for something that's important to us. So it shows us what's important to us, and it shows us what's important to another. And so we have the absolute sovereign right to have things important to us, and so does our neighbor, and so does our neighbor. And when we come from that place of love and no blame and no shame, I feel that we can resolve anything. That we can resolve anything and everything. And that's what we're here as spiritual warriors walking this path of love. To resolve from the place of love, resolve from the words of love, resolve from the energy of love. You want to close this up?
Thank you, Riverside. Thank you for inviting us to be with you here this summer and knowing that you are a blessed community,
Yes.
an amazing community,
Yes.
a vibrant community that expresses, that is living. Love lives here, and I know that, and I will carry with that, me with that, and cherish that. Blessings to each and every one of you. Blessings to your community.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
So it is.
So it is.